Hello, WordNerds! Happy Sunday and happy Mother's Day too, as well, to all of you that are watching. Hope you guys all had lovely Mother's Day brunches or breakfasts or whatever you do with the moms or the mom friends in your world. Today's chat, we are finally going to be talking about how to write and writing and everything related to nonfiction stuff, because I know a lot of us tend to write fiction and fantasy and crazy weird adventures and worlds that are not our own. So apparently there's a thing that you write about, like, actual stuff or like science or something, just
the real world.
The real world. or you write stuff that are yeah, exactly. Oh god, short stories. No, short stories don't count as nonfiction, do they?
We just do like non-novels.
Yeah, I think it was like,
okay, not novels then. Okay, sure. Yeah, that even can relate to like screenplays or TV writing or what have you, just anything that is not a traditional novel, which is kind of what we mostly talk about how to write. So if anybody has any experiences or comments with that kind of thing, make sure to leave them down below in the comments, and we'll be talking about that and chatting for the next hour or so.
Yeah.
So I thought that the kind of first thing that will kick us off is like, what's your experience with nonfiction stuff in general? Like, do you write it? Do you read it? Like, what's that deal? What's nonfiction to you in your life? I have Emma here to start us off.
Yeah, so I mostly only write novels. I took a creative writing class in college, and we did poetry, which I did not like. I'm not a poet. I don't like writing poetry. But we also did some creative nonfiction, because that was kind of my teacher's expertise. And it's actually kind of fun, like, because it's all about, like, it's creative writing, so it's like writing a story, but like you're writing about something real. So there's lots of different things that fall into that, and that was kind of fun. And I've done like for my job last year, I did like an opinion piece. So I've done stuff like that, like opinion pieces and persuasive writing. Yeah, but I like reading nonfiction. I like memoirs a lot. I'm listening to Trevor Noah's memoir, Born a Crime, right now.
that one's so good.
Really good, and he like narrates the audiobook, and it's amazing because he has a great voice and accent. So, but yeah, so I like nonfiction. I watch a lot of TV. Too much TV. So, but yeah, but I don't really write much outside of novels.
Yes. All right, next up I have Kelly.
So ages ago, I wrote like 1.5 nonfiction books about writing. I like writing about writing, but it's hard to find things that haven't been done before. So I'd like to do it again, but need to find an original angle, I guess. And I find it easier to write than novels because it just kind of spews, and it's like a little easier to edit and all of that because it's already my voice. It's just this is me, and I'm just talking. So, but I am trying to learn about writing screenplays or screenwriting, because I want to write for TV one day. Would be amazing, or just to play around in that medium. And I love reading nonfiction, a lot of history books, which I could never actually imagine writing because the research would kill me.
My lord. Agreed.
Yeah. I'm right there with Emma on the no poetry front. That is not my strong suit. I'm also really bad on like the journalism front of like just the facts.
Yeah. All right, now then I have Megan.
Yeah. Before I get started, I put a link in the discussion section to where you can get Kelly's book on writing if you want it. It's amazing.
I have read it. It is very good. Do recommend.
And we've got Jody in the discussion section, who also loves Kelly's book. So
yeah.
Kelly rules. I also took a creative writing class like Emma that was pretty heavily creative nonfiction. I don't know if just all the professors at the university we went to just were about that life or what. And I really enjoy that because as a child, I loved embellishing my own life stories. And that is exactly what creative nonfiction is. Writing a story about a hurricane in Florida and making it sound like you survived the end of the world, you know? and somehow it's also a metaphor for God or something.
When instead you like sat inside and ate junk food.
Yeah.
For like 3 days and missed school. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I have learned a lot about that. I've read some of like the big magazines that publish the short stories in creative nonfiction. Because a lot of the time creative nonfiction is in like short story format. I'm a huge fan of reading it. I like poetry. Once I realized that it didn't have to be rhyming and all that. I didn't have to do math to make the words work, basically. I've gotten much more into writing it, but not quite yet ready to show it to anyone. And I actually did, for a large chunk of high school and part of college, got really into like the journalism-y side of, I want to do hard-hitting investigations. I like sent around a survey about MySpace use and stuff and reported on it. So I do know a little bit about that. And I learned a little bit about publishing like straight up nonfiction from when I interned at a literary agency. So if you have any questions about that, I can try and answer them.
Cool.
Read a lot of like television screenplays too.
Oh yeah, I have studied screenplays, and I have a secret folder.
Oh.
With the poetry.
All right. Well, let me see. I do not really read a lot of nonfiction. The only nonfiction stuff I do read regularly is poetry. I do like poetry. Kind of like gotten into it in the last year or so, and I've written it from time to time. I don't know how good it is, but it does. It sometimes. Well, thanks. Well, you have to say that. You're my friend. So yeah, sometimes I just feel like it's a new, or it's a different way of expressing instead of just like novel writing. Just kind of neat. But I definitely I don't do nonfiction except for like school, if we count school, because man, I could write a great essay. But other than that, I don't really dabble in nonfiction too much. I am definitely the fantasy person, and definitely the crazy, whimsical, please let this not happen in real life kind of writing and reading. So not too much. And also I'm terrible at screenplays. I've tried before, and like scripts and stuff, I cannot do it. I don't know what that is. Like I love theater, I love acting, and I can follow a script, but like writing them, I am just absolutely awful. Just like, oh god, high school. Like, memories of like super terrible scripts. Just nope. Nope.
Yeah. I liked what you said though about it being like a really good outlet for like when you're not writing a book and like using it to help you write. So I definitely feel like every exploration I've done outside of like traditional novel writing has definitely helped my novel writing. Like screenplays
like also
help my dialogue get better and stuff.
Well, I guess you could technically put nonfiction as like blog writing and stuff as well, because I have like a book review blog, and I write reviews on there and stuff, and I send in reviews to a couple of companies. So like if that counts as not writing, like that's still not really like that's like a book expression. But like when you have your own feelings and you're like, I don't really want to just like talk to someone about them, or I don't want to record it as a video, like what else do? I don't really want to like write it as a novel, because that doesn't make any sense. And sometimes I feel like poetry is just a good way to like, even because poetry is like free form if you want it to be, so you could just like spew words and thoughts out, and then like ta-da, it's a poem. Bestseller. So then like it's all right,
it's pretty, it's poetry.
Exactly. Like put it in a pretty form, and then you're like, oh, ta-da.
It's 2 lines, it's a micro poem.
Exactly.
We've got people sharing in the comments or in the discussion section some of the things that they are working on. We've got people doing stage plays and podcasts.
Rad.
Role playing.
Yeah, I guess.
Which is really cool. And Kelly has done a little bit of that. Lots of poetry with some recommendations for poetry. Valerie Wright said, I feel like poetry is like a song for those who can't sing, like me, LOL.
Oh, that's a good way of thinking about it.
Yeah. So again, feel free to ask us any questions. If there's anything in particular that you are working on that is not a traditional novel that you would like us to talk more about, we would love to do that.
We will do our best.
Yeah. As you can probably tell, like, none of us are professionals at any of them, but we have dabbled in a lot of things. We'd love to help get you started.
Yeah. Like, if you have any essay-related questions, like, let me know. I still help out some of my younger friends, like, write essays. Like, I got this. I also feel like a lot, like, especially that, you know, I'm an English student, and I'm sure a lot of you have gotten this before, too, that, you know, if you're a writer or if you are taking writing classes, it's always like, oh, do you want to go into journalism? And, like, is that going to be your main thing? Or, and I'm like, no. I don't know. I don't know about the hard facts and all that. And yeah, that is definitely fun, and you can use it. But I'm definitely not a journalist at all. So
yeah, journalism always looks so fun on TV.
Like, I think that's what it is. Like, in real life, you're like, no, I can't do that. Well, then, what if you wrote about a journalist? Would that be like twice as hard, or would that be easier?
Like a double negative, just because easier. Can I say something in regards to that? And it's interesting. There's just so many different paths to writing and like being a creative, even journalism. Where you're working with the facts, ideally. It's still very much a creative form, finding ways to convey those things. Sometimes really complex ideas in ways that are understandable to the masses, but not like downplaying their intelligence.
And in a very like set amount of words at the same time.
I have a couple of friends who are food bloggers, and just the way that they do that is really interesting too, because I guess technically food could be an art form. So, you know, they're explaining these the flavors of this and the undertones of that and all this stuff. I'm like, how? I'm just like, I eat something. I'm like, wow, that's so good. But I'm like, I wouldn't know like if it's like if this chocolate is acidic or not. Like, I have no idea. So,
and they all have like a personal life story too. It's like my grandmother used to sit at her counter and whip this up.
I always hate like trying to find like a recipe on a blog, and it's like you have to read through their whole life story. And I'm like, I just want to know how to make this cake.
Tell me a picture of the food, and then how to make the food.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't tell me about your vacation to Mexico. I don't care.
Yeah,
see, there are a couple who I really do care. Like there are like 2 food blogs, like Smitten Kitchen is one of them. And like, I'm like, I need you to tell me everything before I get to this recipe, because I probably don't have the skills to make the food, but I'm invested in your life now. And a lot of the ways to like getting your work in public, I feel like are very similar. Whether you're doing like short stories versus longer form, if you're looking to get into like lifestyle blogging versus hoping to like start with web journalism or something. Even though like it's totally different things, a lot of the methodology is the same.
I feel like a major difference with like short stories and like poetry, I think, is that a lot of times you're going to be submitting to like publications, especially short stories. Like you submit to like a quarterly magazine or something, or like for an anthology or something like that, rather than just like, yeah, you're not like getting a book deal usually, unless you have like a compilation of short stories, like a bunch of them that you want to publish as a book.
Yeah, I know Erin's done that before. I don't know if she's going to be joining us tonight. But...
No, she's not.
Okay.
I know before she started really pursuing novel writing, she like was submitting short stories.
Yeah,
and she has a short story published in one of the Chicken Soup books. It's like Chicken Soup for the Writer's Soul or something.
Oh, okay. I know that she also has a short story published in Imagines, which is like it's in store. Yeah, it's like a Wattpad thing, but it's in store, so you can buy it, which is kind of pretty cool. Shameless plug of another one of our friends.
I struggle with short stories, like being able to condense something down like that. It's something I want to do more of. It's a great for on the self-publishing side, like freebies and stuff. And I've done a few like shorter novella type stuff that really are closer to short stories, but it is pulling teeth for me to like find.
I really love the idea. I love the idea of being able to just write it like something really short and be done.
I could never come up with plots that are that
that short.
Yeah.
End up like
and also engaging.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just end up turning it into a longer story. Like I can't wrap it up. I need to make it longer.
Yeah. I can never come up with ideas that like don't need introduction. That it's just like, okay, we're going. Like it's just
Well, I mean, it probably would be easier if you already had an established world and you're just like, here's a one shot of like an adventure they're having or something. Kind of like Sight Witch by Susan Dennard, how it's kind of just like a little story that's like off to the side. You know, like okay, like that's cool. Like you already know like what the world is, and here's just like another like random day in the life of someone. But I could not just like set up a whole world in a short story. Like no way.
The first thing I published was actually a prequel to Mortality, and it was like 4 short stories set in the same world. But it was all in the like zombie apocalypse. So I never needed to set up zombie apocalypse. It was just okay, readers get zombie apocalypse.
I had to do when I took that creative writing class, we had like a curriculum on poetry, a curriculum on creative nonfiction, one on short stories. And so we had to produce something for each of those. And I had a ton of fun with the short story one because I basically did like a fan fiction that was Where's Waldo and Carmen Sandiego falling in love. And they were always trying to find each other, and I had so much fun in my
That's amazing.
So much. She gave me a C on it.
What?
I did not like it. But I still think about it sometimes.
Seriously, if I ever go to a Halloween party again, I think I'm gonna make Matt and I be your fan fiction. Like we'll dress up and then never be in the same place in the party.
Yeah, that's great.
Although that's not like me at all.
It was so fun though. They were like in Washington D.C., just like raising hell.
That's amazing.
You deserve way more than a C on that assignment,
right?
Not that you're bitter.
Bitter. And I know I was really annoying in that class, so it's probably fine. I probably deserved it. Because I was like that beginner writer who was like, I've read every writing blog ever, so I know all the answers to your questions. So there was probably part of her that liked giving me that C, and I probably deserved that.
I'm trying to think, like I haven't had any classes that I've had to do that yet, and so even in high school and stuff, like all the ones I took were either like I wrote a couple of short stories or like scenes, but I never had to do any kind of like specifically nonfiction stuff. Like I know we studied poetry, but like we never wrote any, or we only wrote the like rhyming couplet kind of, or the what are those called? The like there once was a goddess from Sparta, like like the like that
Limericks.
Limericks. Thank you. I was like, I can't remember what they're called. Yeah, those. But so like one of those. I'm like, okay, done. Let's study Shakespeare now.
If I was like a high school creative writing teacher, there's no way I'd want to read
all the angsty teenage poetry.
Oh, I would love it. I would love that so much.
We did do like some fun poetry assignments in my creative writing class in college. Like we did blackout poetry, which was really fun. It's like where you take like a page from like a book. Our teacher did Twilight, so we all had pages from Twilight.
Bless.
And you like black out most of the words and you just leave certain words to make like a poem.
That's cool.
And it was like interesting to see since we all had pages from the same book. Like all of most of the poems turned out like kind of angsty because like so it's like really cool because you like see kind of what the vocabulary is like in the books,
Yeah.
Like, everybody's poems came out angsty. Those were the kind. There was lots of sighing and like everyone's poem had "I sigh" somewhere in it.
Okay, we should like do that for the WordNerds.
Yes, we should. I was just thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah. Like we could even like pick a book and just like tell our viewers, if you would like to contribite your poetry, we can read it, whatever this is.
Oh my god, that would be so fun.
That's a great idea.
Okay,
We'll mark that down.
Yeah, I'm writing it down. We'll talk about it in the post.
Yeah, done.
Oh, this would be great.
Blackout poetry is always something that I've wanted to do. Either A, I haven't done it because I'm lazy or I forget, but then also I'm like, I can't mark up a book like that. Like, my goodness.
I drilled holes in how many books to make that like
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I don't understand the people who are like, I can't write on a book. I can't desecrate a book. I'm like, there's like tons of copies out there. Like, you're actually helping the author by buying another copy. Like, I don't know any authors like, don't write in my book. Like,
I can't afford another copy. That's why.
No, yeah, I think she like got like a copy of Twilight from, you know, like a thrift store or something, and like took all the pages out. So yeah,
That's so cool.
but you could always just make a photocopy of a page if it really bothered you that much.
That's true. Okay. Yeah.
Page.
Well, thrift stores. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go and find some weird poetry books at a thrift store. And just
Yeah, okay,
blackout
that
poetry.
opens up our possibilities of like what we'd want to do. Like, because I'd never like rip pages out of Harry Potter, but I could photocopy Harry Potter.
Oh
You
my
can
gosh.
always find Harry Potter books in like thrift stores and stuff.
Oh yeah, always.
Or that like game we played for. Did anything come of that? Oh no, I don't remember who did it, but like just reading first lines or something. So we could all like pick our own book, read the poem, and you have to guess which book it came from.
Oh
Yes.
yes. Cool. Yeah, we did that. I think that video ended up turning up on my channel. I think that was when we all got
Yeah,
together.
that
We
makes
did the
sense.
like
That
heads
makes
up on the WordNerds, and then we did that one for my channel.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Oh, that could be a lot of fun.
That would be a lot of fun.
Raven Boys poetry, here we come.
Oh no! Oh, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
Okay, I've written it down. It's happening.
And we need like a flurry of comments as excited as we are, but this is going to happen anyway, guys. So
Yeah. Yay. Glad you're on board with us.
One of the things I've been really interested in with poetry is that there's like this whole world of independent publishing poetry, like authors who are self-publishing poetry. And so it's just like on Kindle Unlimited, there's so much good poetry out there that last year I read so many books just of poems.
Really?
Yeah.
I think now it's like, I think the last year or two, it's become trendy again, or it's become trendy in general. So now people are like, oh, sweet, I can publish this and I can get people to read it. And that's great. Like it's something new kind of to explore. That's kind of like what I've been doing too, because now there's more like floof to do, hula. I don't know what the word is, but like
never even
there's
thought
more
about
about it.
Yeah, I never even thought about poetry and self-publishing because it's such a smaller market, but that's something that like a lot of people try and are great at, but there's not as much call for it. So being able to just publish your own book, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I want to say, correct me if I am totally making this up, but I'm pretty sure that The Princess Saves Herself in this one started as indie pub.
Really? I don't know.
And it got
I'm not sure. It's a great poetry
I
book,
will
just saying.
double check it.
I feel
Well,
like
like
you could totally do
my
the same. I feel like you could totally do the same thing with short stories too. Like you could self-publish a collection of short stories.
Yeah. I was saying my best friend actually self-published her own book of poetry. It's called Lavender Reverie by Zoe Norman, just saying, it's really good. And that's not even me being biased, like she has really nice poetry. And that was kind of cool to kind of like see her, maybe I can get her to guest star on the channel at some point. I know she's interested in doing that. And how she like put it together and how she like formatted it and everything as well. And she was really excited to kind of be able to put that out there and not have to go through a traditional publisher where, you know, it would take a year or two for that to happen. So I know it's an option. I know she had it done. I think she like did the whole thing in like 2 months or something like that. So that's an option if you don't want to have to wait for, you know, getting an agent and everything as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I just double checked it. It was
Nice.
self-published.
Cool.
And then
Those poems are amazing. I just read
they're
the second book
so good.
last week or something.
Yeah. Have you read The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one?
Not yet. I'm waiting for my library to get it.
It's so good. It's like it's more hardcore.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, I think she tweeted something about how her next one, I'm pretty sure, is called "The Mermaid Doesn't Drown" in this one, and I'm like, yo, okay, like I'm super down with these titles. I'm super down with these fantastical like images of this. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Oh my gosh, I love it. My Kindle Unlimited recently expired, and I've been really sad. I've been reading a lot more fantasy, so maybe that is benefiting from it, but my heart is sad.
Yeah, I also noticed that there's a lot of writers who write poetry and write novels, and I find that their novels are so much nicer to read because they are very lyrical and they have a nice flow, so it's kind of like that's something that you can try out if you want to write novels and you feel like your voice isn't there. Just like write some poetry, figure out what your rhyme is, or figure out what you're comfortable with in like pacing of your words and stuff, and sometimes that can help you if you want to write later.
Yeah, for sure. Both fiction and I feel like creative nonfiction.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of like story.
From that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I think we've like established that like poetry is a thing. We all like poetry. Like other kinds of nonfiction, I'm thinking like unfortunately Desiree could not come tonight, and she's the one that does a lot of screenwriting and screenplays. So I'm like, what's everyone's experience with that? Because we all kind of have said that we've like had a little bit of it. Megan, you said you had a whole folder, so
I'll be right back.
Okay.
I am reading this. It is the Screenwriter's Bible.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got like 4 or 5 different books. Like the first one, I've just read the first book within the book, which is basically how to tell a story, and so much of it applies to novel writing. Like it's pacing and character development and all of that kind of stuff. But then it also gets into like how to format scripts and how to actually interact with the industry and stuff. So I still have a long way to go, but apparently this is a highly recommended book to kind of get you going.
Which one is it? Sorry.
The Screenwriter's Bible.
Okay.
By David Trotter.
Yeah.
And like Save the Cat is technically a screenwriting book as well. Like a lot of people apply it to books because you easily can, but it is actually really based around screenwriting. So.
Yeah. My 2 favorites that I have read are Sid Field's screenplay, which is kind of like Kelly, the one you were recommending. It's one of those like Bibles on writing screenplays. It looks at famous movies and also towards the end like gives you like, here's all the screenplay terms you need to know. Here's how to format one. Here's how to get into the industry, like what people you need to be talking to, because it is a lot like novels where like your best bet is to get an agent and this is how you get one. It talks about like writing spec scripts, which is where you basically do like a fan fiction script of a show you like, how you can use those to get better and hopefully like get an assistant's job, which is like a great way to get your foot in the door. It just covers all of it. And then also John Truby's The Anatomy of Story, which I just think no matter what you're writing, if it has a story format, you should read this book. But it is particularly written about screenplays and writing movies and such. Backstage called it a veritable Bible for screenwriters. So it is also incredible and totally changed the way that I think about storytelling.
The other resource I used and really liked when I was just starting, and expensive, but I watched the master classes for Shonda Rhimes and Aaron Sorkin. So technically Aaron Sorkin was talking more about movie writing, but I know them both from TV writing. So it really kind of gave you a sense of how a writer's room works and the like collaborative elements that come with actually writing for television and stuff, which was a lot of fun. Like I always thought novels, if I could have like a team of people to do all the idea stuff with me, so much easier.
Yeah, it's like I love talking to other writers because you like bump ideas off each other. Like I couldn't imagine doing that in a TV room like that. That's very foreign to me. Like that whole screenwriter thing is very foreign, except for theater. And I'm sure once you get past the like high school, college, you know, you're gonna have the screenwriters and the props department and the actors. Like they're all gonna be different. And I only know as everyone does everything. So I can't imagine being like just in a room being like, oh yeah, like hand the script up to the actors, they can deal with it.
It sounds like such a cool process, though, of like having a draft and then do the table read, so you actually get to see it play out, and then you get to go back and write it. Like it'd be things. Oh, I'd love to write a novel like this. Like have people act it out for me, and then I find where the issues are, and I can go back and do another draft.
Yeah,
that would be super neat, actually.
Yeah.
Like, here's some sticks I found in my backyard. You can sword play with those. I just need you to like. Here's your draft. Here's your draft. Go.
Show me what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And a lot of those books we recommended were a little older. I recently read The Hidden Tools of Comedy by Steve Kaplan. And at the end of this one, he talked about using platforms like YouTube to kind of get your foot in the door as well, which I found fascinating. Like, again, we live in an increasingly digital world, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like, I wrote a couple of jokes and performed them at the comedy club for 10 people for 5 years, and no one ever heard of me, but eventually I made it. He talked about like using YouTube to help like make short form movies and just really fascinating stuff.
See, it's weird in the like book publishing world. I'm way more interested in like the self-publishing side and doing it all myself. In the like screenwriting world, like creating something like for YouTube or whatever all by myself. Of course, like when the Lizzie Bennet Diaries is on, whatever, like, oh, this is great. I'd love to do something like this, but I would have no idea where to start on like casting and sets and lighting.
I'm like the opposite.
That's not your
job. That out on my own.
Yeah, that's not your job. That's the that's the lighting department. That's the tech department. Like,
I think it's the level of interacting with people. Like I can self-publish by myself.
Kelly's gonna do a one-woman web series. It's just
I would do that so
I would
much.
watch the hell out of that.
hell yeah.
It's Kelly playing multiple characters.
Felicia Day's memoir, You're Never Weird on the Internet Almost. She talked a lot about making the guild because she like basically did that from the ground up in her, like they filmed it in her house and stuff. And it was fascinating. Like the whole time I was like, I gotta do this.
The guild is also a lot of fun. I should rewatch that.
Yes, it's so good. We've got in the discussion section, Dr. Luxwell mentioned they're working on 2 stage plays. And I'm working with a professor to finish and submit one of the stage plays in the fall. Good luck. If you want to share any info on how that submission process works, definitely do. I'm sure there are other people in the discussion section who are interested. And that's something that I don't think any of us know anything about.
I know nothing about no.
That's so cool. And I hope it gets picked up if that's the right terminology.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That feels like the most intimidating form of anything.
I just, whenever I think of the like TV or movie industry, I always think about like a bunch of pompous people being like really snobby about stuff, and I'm too nervous. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like what a screenplay, like, oh, it's terrible. Like, honey, just leave it on the counter. Like, we'll have, like we'll go through it. We'll get back to you. Like, we'll call you. Like, I just feel that way. So I'm like, no, I can't do it. I would be too scared.
I'm sure like if we think the book world has drama, it's got nothing on like the television and movie world.
Oh no, it does not.
Especially
like,
since you work so much more closely with people, like, so you're like, oh, I worked on a show with that person.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like, I have some friends that are actors, and like, I've done background work a couple times, and it's really fun, but that's kind of like as far as I've gotten. And even just being backstage and like hearing what goes on, I'm like, no thanks. People often tell me, they're like, oh, like, why don't you go into acting or something? Because like, I'm model, and people are like, why don't you like act? I'm like, no, it's no way. It's too crazy. It's so, it's too different. It's wild. So I feel like I couldn't write for that. Like, no, it's okay. I'll be the author that like is on set, and I'll just be like really high maintenance. But like, that's not like my book. Yeah, I'll have the cameo.
In the back of a diner, like Stephanie Meyer.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be okay with that. That's good.
We had a question in the discussion section from Valred writes, I'm pretty new to the channel, so I'm wondering if any of you guys are bloggers. And if you guys have any tips for blogging.
Yeah, I'm a book blogger. I have a book blog. I don't know necessarily because like I'm not on there like every single day, and I know some bloggers are much more bloggery than I am. Like I'm more of like the YouTube channel, and then like the blog is just kind of there. Like whenever I feel like posting, so probably like once or twice a month, I'll post a book review. And so I think for that one, I know for a long time I just kind of thought about it, and it is really frustrating trying to create a website if you're on like Wix or WordPress or like any of those startup sites. And I'm on WordPress, that's where mine is. But I would say like take an hour or two and just like sit down and just like do it all at once. Like don't try and be like, oh, I'll do some here and some there, because then I just get frustrated with it. And so it was just kind of like, first you have to just start, like just pick a day and start, and then kind of like do everything all together and just like post somewhat regularly. I think just kind of like the YouTube thing. Just make, if you're gonna do it every Monday, do it every Monday. If you're gonna do it every Wednesday, do it every Wednesday. If you're going to do it twice a week, like make sure you can commit to that. My regular is about twice a month, but still somewhat, still, post on there somewhere.
Yeah, I think for sure setting a schedule is huge. And being ready to wait for it. There's so many bloggers, like whether you're looking into like video blogging like we do, or like the more traditional like typing on a website blogging, it takes a while to build up a readership.
It does.
That's okay. Like that's totally normal. Reach out to people who you look up to. See if there are ways you can do blog swaps, where you like guest post on theirs or they guest post on yours. And be ready to not hear from most of them. And simultaneously try and find people who are getting their feet in the door at the same time as you. Like so much of it is networking and reaching out, and really like when your friends are doing well, you're doing well. And so just working hard and not giving up, basically.
Yeah, I think that's the thing where I know a lot of people, or a lot of like people that I know that have started are like, oh, it's been, like 6 months and like I only have like 10 readers, like I'm just going to give up. And I'm like, well, no, don't make sure it's something that you like doing first of all. But like if you like doing it, like keep going with it. Like you don't have to do it if you don't want to. But like it's just, if it's a fun thing, then don't stop just because, 10 people read it. Maybe in a year you'll have like 100 people, and then maybe in 2 years you'll have like 1,000 people. Like you don't know.
Yeah.
And you can even like reach out to make, if you want readership, make sure you tweet it, make sure you mention it, make sure that you're hashtagging all the terms that are going to be in your article, so it reaches as many people as possible. Or even you can like ask, I'm using book blogging as an example, but like if I'm part of an advanced copy program, so I tell my lady like, hey, just so you know, like I'm going to be reviewing this book on my blog, not just for you. Here's the link, kind of thing, like just in case they want to do anything with that. And because of that, in 2 days, I'm going to be posting something on my blog because I'm part of a blog tour for a new book that's coming out. Hey, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, so that's like from that, the lady from my program kind of like sent me over to another someone who's from Raincoast, and I got a book and I'm going to review it, and it's going to be on the blog tour. So that's kind of cool. And I don't know if I'm going to get like any new readers from that, but that'll be kind of a cool thing to say that I did and to have on there.
That's awesome.
Kind of like like an online resume kind of thing, almost, if you like.
And you definitely like learn from trying new things like that. Like, oh, well, this didn't really bring in a lot of readership, but I had a lot of fun with it, so maybe I want to keep doing it. For example, like our book club videos always get way less viewers, but we like doing them, so we keep doing them. And yeah, it's like some people are going to take off really fast. It's always interesting seeing, like, we've been vlogging on this channel for, what, like 5 years now? And so it's always interesting seeing someone who's like, I became a booktuber a year ago and I have 100,000 subscribers. And we're like, wow.
How? What are you doing?
What are you doing? But like looking at those people and seeing their successes and seeing if there are things that you can try and emulate. But mostly it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, like if there's a a book tag going around, do it because people are gonna click like, oh, this person did it. What's I don't know this person, but let's try them. Like let's try that out, or just you never know what's gonna pull people in.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a big thing with any of the publishing forms we're talking about today. Like, just don't be afraid to take risks and know that there's, like, you might think, oh, well, maybe short stories will be easier than novels or something, so I'll try those. And no, like, nothing is easier. It's all just different kinds of hard, and it's going to take a while.
Yeah, like so much of the advice we give all the time on writing novels is going to transfer over about needing to read a lot in what it is you're trying to write. And that the first couple things you write probably won't be great. Like, a lot of it is the same no matter where you're trying to get in. But the nice thing is, if you've tried novels and you've learned stuff from that, that's going to benefit the next thing you try. And whatever you're learning over there will in turn benefit your novel. So it's all good stuff. It's just, it all takes a while.
Yeah. For sure.
Like, I don't know how people are writing those like giant history books, but I'm sure the first research project they ever did was not like a history tomb this big of the Silk Roads of China. So
that is actually nonfiction writing is something we haven't talked a ton about the specifics of. But a lot of those people, like, they have expertise in that area, whether it be like graduate degrees or just a lot of time and a lot of passion. But one of the things that is different about trying to publish a nonfiction book versus a novel is that you don't necessarily have to have the entire thing written to sell it. With nonfiction, a lot of times it's a proposal and basically a showing that you have a readership who will like it and who will buy it. So definitely, like, if you're looking to go the nonfiction route for something that you're passionate about, start building up, whether it's through blogging or on Twitter or something, like, start building up a fan base for it now, because you'll need to show that you have people who are going to buy that book when you're trying to sell it. Fun fact.
But yeah, it totally makes sense, because like, why would we pay you to write a book about this thing when, like, everyone would be like, who is this person? Like, what do they know about this? Like, you're going to be writing nonfiction, you have to prove in some way that you know something about the subject and that people will care about your knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, like, if you're Elon Musk and you write a book, like, people are like, oh yeah, he knows what he's doing. Like, let's hear what he has to say about this thing. Like, he knows his stuff. And in the case if it's just like a random like guy off the street being like, I don't know if I trust that guy.
Or like Ron Chernow is like a really famous biographist. He did like the Alexander Hamilton biography that the musical is based on, and like, he's known for that. He's a historian. Like, he has multiple degrees in it, and like, people know him as like a really great researcher and historian. So he can basically write a biography of anybody, and a publisher will buy it at this point, because they know people will buy it.
Or similarly, Caitlin Doty runs the Ask a Mortician YouTube series, and that was the launch pad into. First, she wrote a memoir, but this year she had a book that came out where she like went around the world and studied death traditions, and it was like they knew that she would have a readership because she has 100,000 people on YouTube who like her stuff.
I didn't know that. That sounds really interesting. Like, I know the channel, but I mean, like, I didn't know the book, and I'm like, no, I want to go buy the book.
Yeah, it's a really good book. It was really interesting. We had, this is a little off topic, but I mean, it is books, so is it off topic? And we've been talking about nonfiction stuff for a decent amount of time. I'm proud of us. But Jody asked what everyone is reading right now.
I'm in the middle of I just finished some stuff, so now I have to choose a new book.
Oh, I'm finally reading Strange the Dreamer. I'm so excited.
Yay!
It's so good.
Yes! It's so good!
Like, more than once, I've closed it because it's too good. I'm like, I cannot handle this right now.
I just finished reading Brightly Burning by Alexa Dawn. which is Jane Eyre in space. And it was so good. Just a couple days ago.
Speaking of Jane Eyre, I finished My Plain Jane when I was.
I haven't read that one.
I did not like it as much as the first one.
Yeah.
But there were still some like really great like pop culture references and stuff. It made me laugh.
I'm reading Tess of the Road by Rachel Hartman, which is it's really good so far. I love Serafina, so I'm like loving being back in like the same world. And then actually everything else I'm reading right now is nonfiction because I'm listening to Born a Crime, like I said, Trevor Noah's memoir. I'm almost done with that. And then I'm also reading it's by Kevin Crossley Holland, who wrote like a book on Norse mythology like many years ago, like a big tome of it, and now like he has one that's meant more for like a young adult audience that we got at work that I'm reading. It's called Norse Myths, and it's been really cool because it's like illustrated and stuff.
Who's that?
Cool.
Kevin Crossley Holland.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I need that.
Yeah, because I'm like wanting to maybe have a little bit of like Norse mythology influence in my next book, so I'm like reading that. And so lots of nonfiction.
Oh,
that sounds cool.
I just got The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet.
I did too.
I reread that on my vacation. I'm like, I hope I still like it. I still like it. It was
Yes.
I haven't more of that from work yet.
It's not perfect though. It'll be a good like discussion-y one. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I need to start that soon because that's in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I haven't started it either.
In case you were wondering what that book is, it's The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, and it is our book club pick for this month. It's only $3 for the ebook on Amazon right now.
Oh, wow.
So highly recommend you get it. It looks like that might be just like the price now, but I would get it sooner rather than later just in case.
Only 2 weeks left, right?
Yes. It's a slightly longer book, so.
Yeah, it was longer than I remembered it being. Like, because I whipped through it the first time, but it is.
It's like 420 pages, I think, total in the printed form. And I'm on A Conjuring of Light, last book in the
Dark into the Magic
series. Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm kind of like, I'm debating rereading Vicious because my boyfriend just read it for the first time and he was like freaking out about it. And I'm like, oh man, like forgot how much I liked it. So I'm gonna have to go back.
I'm actually also kind of in the middle of, I switched over to Strange to the Dreamer, but this Savage Song or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that one's been really good as well. But just Matt started reading Strange to the Dreamer. I'm like, I want to come too.
Oh, Strange to the Dreamer. Muse of Nightmares comes out this year, and I'm very excited.
I think we got a question about Mother's Day and like mother-daughter relationships in books earlier.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, there it is. Happy Mother's Day. What's your favorite YA contemporary novel that features a mother-daughter relationship?
There aren't many of those.
Like dads are coming to mind a lot faster.
Yeah.
When Catastic tweeted like Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in YA books that had to die so the plot would work.
So the plot could happen.
Hold on, I gotta look at a shelf. Okay.
Because the two I thought of have great dad figures, Fangirl and Lola and the Boy Next Door, and like very complicated, dark and twisty mother relationships.
Yeah.
I like the moms in The Upside of Unrequited.
Yes. They are amazing. All of the moms written by Becky Albertalli.
I also just read, I read a lot because I just got back from vacation because I read Leah on the Offbeat as well. And she also has a solid mother relationship.
Okay. I'm just like literally looking at my shelf and I'm like, I can't find a single mom that is either still alive and good. Like, I don't know, buddy. Yeah, there's a lot of dead parents. Like, I can't think of anybody.
In contemporary, I feel like there's a lot of like bad or absentee parents.
Yeah.
Also some dead ones too.
Yeah, the trend is heading in the right direction. Like there's more. I love like awesome parent relationships.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I love reading about them.
The Hate You Give. She had a mom.
Yeah, I mean, she did have a mom. Her mom was cool. her, like, I think it was more, again, like a dad relationship. I mean, her mom was there and her mom was great, but it was more like based on the dad.
Her dad
and, like,
was
the
more
brothers.
plot relevant,
Yeah.
Her mom had that whole running joke of like, send me like lives for some game. I don't remember what game it was.
Oh, for like,
Like a
Farmville
Facebook game
or something.
Farmville?
Or Candy Crush.
something. Candy Crush, I think. Yeah, send me.
Yeah.
She felt like a very real mom, which is always
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, like, no.
Well, apparently Rachel only reads books with dead parents, so.
or like lots of bad parents. I'm like, oh, that has a parent. I'm like, no, that's a bad parent. I'm like, well, that one has a parent. I'm like, well, it's not really that great.
I was scrolling through my Goodreads and saw Starfish by Kimmy Dawn Bowman, and I was like, nope, not that mom.
I do like I don't feel like they're particularly like super close, but I do like the relationship between Blue and her mom in The Raven Boys. I feel like she's there, she's trying to be involved. It's complicated, but also like there was room for Blue to have her plot. So not a perfect example, but
I think that one's like a great one because like part of the reason that she's able to be like present, but also Blue's story is able to happen is because her mom is like a part of the story and the magic, you know, like a lot of times it's like in a story like that, the mom would just be like some mundane person who doesn't know what's going on. But like her mom knows what's going on and she's magic, you know, so she like is within like the world of it and the magic system of it.
Yeah, she really feels like she has her own plot going on.
Yeah.
It's not like mom is just waiting at home with the light on.
Yeah. Has no idea what trouble her dad is getting into.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of it too, because you know, now that I'm like trying to find ones, is even if the mom does know stuff, she is then again absent. Like it's like, oh, City of Bones, like, you know, like Jocelyn's there. No, she gets kidnapped. So then like, oh, okay, never mind. But like when we see her, we're like, oh, that's like a cool mom. We're like, all right, that's great. But then I'm like, no, she's like gone for half the books anyway.
In a coma.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, no. Or it's like, oh, there's like, wow, this book that I read, well, Girl Made of Stars is a book that comes out in May sometime. I don't know when. It's a great book. But I was like, oh, that's like a big family thing in it. And I'm like, well, I mean, they do like fight a lot. So I'm like, oh, okay, maybe not that one. So I'm like, I don't know what has a good mom. And I still haven't read Leah on the Offbeat, so I don't
This
know.
isn't contemporary, but I love the like family relationship in Court of Fives by Kate Elliott. It's like very central to the story.
Oh, I really like.
Yeah, that was a good one.
In Damsel Distressed, the stepmom character.
Yes.
What's the main character's name? I'm totally blanking on it right now.
I'm never gonna get there.
Oh, I can't believe I'm forgetting it.
I don't remember. It's been so long.
I never read it.
Right.
She like hates the stepmom for so much of the book, and then towards the end, you like start to like realize that she's more complex and is like trying really hard. I think those are all my favorite kinds of moms. All the complicated ones where it's like they're trying real hard.
Okay, this one kind of counts. 1,000 Pieces of You. She has a mom relationship, and you can like examine it in like different dimensions and what like it's the same mom.
That's
true.
It's cool.
Yeah. I don't think I missed any questions. I apologize profusely if I did.
We're about an hour, so it's all right. I'm trying to think if there's any. I mean, we must have missed a ton of nonfiction stuff because nonfiction is such a large umbrella term to use, and I don't know how much any of us have really had experience in a lot of those small facets. Yeah. Like, Desiree, why aren't you here? I need you to talk about screenplays.
Next week, we're talking about revisions, which is something I'm certain we will have a lot to say about.
Oh, yes.
Specifically, like our own processes for revisions, how we do it. So we would love to have you all there then as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, shall we just wrap it up for tonight then?
I think so.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm pretty proud of us. We talked for almost an entire hour about stuff that we don't usually write. So yay, yes, we're good. We're doing good. All right, well then, thank you all for joining in tonight, and we will see you as normal with daily videos all this week and live chat next Sunday on revisions. So hope to see you guys all there. And, happy Mother's Day, and hope everyone has a good week. Bye.
Bye.